Welcome to our first flip lesson. This one is lesson number 16, modeling and solving linear word problems. What you're going to do is you're going to start by filling in the blank spaces on your handout with what I have in bold. While you do that, I'm going to read through our basic steps for solving these types of word problems. First thing we're going to do is clearly define the quantities involved with common sense variables in what are called let statements. Then we're going to use these let statements to write out expressions for the quantities that you're interested in, really the ones that you're solving for. Number 3, we're going to carefully translate the information you are told into an equation. We've done this before. Number 4, we're going to solve the equation. Remember to mentally note the justification for each step. Number 5, probably the most important thing, check for the reasonableness of your answer. As I mentioned, this is one of the most important things we have to do is make sure that our answer makes sense for the question we're being asked. Now, the first example we're going to look at together says that the sum of a number and 5 times more than a number is 17. Then it asks, what is the number? Letter A says to first experiment with some numbers that will help you when going into the abstract with variables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sense out of the sentence that we were given. It says right here that the sum of a number and 5 more than the number is 17. So I'm going to have a number. I'm going to have 5 more than that number. And what I have to do is keep in mind that their sum has to be 17. So I'm going to start by picking a number. For example, I'm going to pick the number 2. Well, if I start with my number being 2, the second number that I have has to be 5 more than that. Well, 5 more than 2, of course, is going to be 7. If I were to add the 2 and the 7 together, that's going to give me the sum of those numbers. That sum in this case is going to be 9. As it says, though, our sum is supposed to be 17. So I'm going to try a different pair of numbers. All right, so let me increase this to, say, 4. Well, if this number is 4, then my number that's 5 more than that is going to have to be 9. And if I add those two numbers together, it's going to be 13. Again, I'm looking for my sum to be 17. So I'm getting closer, but I'm still not quite there. So let's increase our number again. So if this number is 6, 5 more than 6, of course, is 11. And if I add those two things together, that's going to be 17. So all we've done is just take a look at the sentence we were given and played around with some numbers to find numbers that worked. Now, letter B says, now let's carefully set up let statements and an equation that relates to the quantities of interest. Then we're going to solve the equation for the number. All right, so let's start with some let statements. I'm going to start by saying let x equal the number we are looking for. Now, the second let statement is going to say let x plus 5 equal my second number. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully take a look at the sentence that I was given, and I'm going to make an equation out of it. That sentence says the sum of a number and 5 more than the number is 17. So if you think about it, the sum of a number, well, our number is x, and a number that's 5 more than that number, that's going to be our x plus 5. That sum means add them together, and it has to be equal to 17. So I'm going to go back down here, and I'm going to rewrite that one more time. I'm going to write that my number plus x plus 5 has to be equal to 17. Now this type of equation is pretty simple for us to solve. A couple of different ways we can do it. I'm going to start by combining like terms. I see that I have a 1x and a 1x that I'm going to add together to be 2x plus 5 is equal to 17. All I'm going to do from here is I'm going to try and isolate that x. Now, that x is connected to a 2 by multiplication and a 5 by addition, so I'm going to continue by eliminating that addition. So let's rewrite that one more time. 2x plus 5 is equal to 17. I'm now going to subtract 5 from both sides. I'm going to get 2x is going to be equal to 12. To get rid of that multiplication, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. That's going to give me that x is equal to 6. Well, if x is equal to 6, I also should state what x plus 5 is equal to. So x plus 5 is going to have to be 11. Now, we're going to notice that those are the same numbers we got up above. And what I would suggest we do is to make sure those numbers make sense. It says in our equation that if we take our number and we add to it 5 more than our number, that sum has to be 17. If we simply take our 6 and add to that 11, that sum, in fact, is 17. Very important. We want to make sure that our answers check out. Now, the next example that we're given is multiple choice. It says here the difference between twice a number and a number that is 5 more than it is 3. Let me clean that up a little bit so I can see it a little better. All right, so one more time. It says the difference between twice a number and a number that is 5 more than it is 3. Which of the following equations could be used to find the value of the number n? Now, they've already defined our variable for us. So all we have to do now is be careful and come up with an equation. It says the difference between twice a number. Now, twice a number is going to be 2 times n. Difference means subtraction. And a number that is 5 more than it, well, 5 more than our number, which is n, would be n plus 5. It then says is equal to 3. And again, if we take a look at what we have, this right here represents twice our number. This represents the number that's 5 more than our number. And the subtraction is there because of the word difference. You're going to notice in your handout that there is one more question. This question you're going to try on your own. You're going to carefully read through it. It's very similar to the first example. Take your time, make some sense out of it, and then we'll go through it in class on Monday.